So I decided to go live this afternoon. I wasn't going to because I got things going on, but I decided, okay, I'm going to go live. Because normally on a Sunday I do the week in brief, but yeah, I just recording it, editing it, uploading it takes so long, so to go live is much quicker. I hope you're all doing well. I hope you've all had a good weekend. I've been feeling a bit the last few days. So anyway, I went for my run today. That was great. I'm just going to get this up on my computer so I can see any messages that come through. Let me know if you can hear me. The pigeons are at it on the roof again. Let me know if you can hear me. Oh, and I see the thing's all skew and wonky. Just got to sort that out. I can't have a skew wonky thingy mabob doohickey. There we go. No, it's still wonky. Oh, that'll have to do. Grab my blanket again. So let me know if you can hear me, because I've got a new doohickey for my microphone. I've lost the previous one. I don't know where it went. It's a USB-C connector, because when I bought the microphone, I got a different connector for my phone, so it was an old phone. And this phone is a Samsung, and it's got a completely different connector. So I've had to get this connector, and I'll probably find the one that I've lost in the next couple of days after spending another 15 quid on this one. But anyway, at least now I can use my microphone again, and hopefully you can hear me a bit better. So today's video, something came up this morning on I'm going to actually try and get this up if I can as well, on my YouTube channel. And it was really quite funny. I was watching an LBC video from one of the shows, and it was all about tax, and with the whole benefits changes that they want to make to PIP, personal independent payment, and that will affect me. And so people were ringing in about their tax, and it's all about taxing the rich rather than taxing the poor, which it's the poor that always get the shitty end of the stick. The rich seem to be okay, you know. So this guy, his name was Chris, and he came on, and he said he was bored with paying tax. And I thought, really? And he says last year he paid $1 million in tax. Okay. And you're bored with paying tax. And I just thought, what a strange thing to say. What a really strange thing for somebody to say. So I'm going to play this. Hopefully you can hear it. I don't have the ability to put this live onto the screen with me because I'm recording on my phone. I don't have the funds to buy a camera or the necessary software to be able to do this in the way that a lot of people can. So I'm doing it the old-fashioned way. And it looks like I've probably got a few more messages on the post that I put on here. And I'm going to read those out to you as well, because they're really funny. And that's what the title is of today's live, is have the British people forgotten what sarcasm is? Because my response to Chris, who was the caller, was sarcastic. It was meant to be sarcastic. And I said that for a reason. So let me play this. Let me get the volume on my laptop up. because I had it turned off.
Laptop up because I had it turned off. Laptop up.
Yeah, more I like the framing. I think Thomas made a lot of sense. I like the framing. Earlier on,
And we just got loads of... Bear with me.
earlier caller saying,
Bear with me.
make the wealthy pay more. I'm one of those people who pay, they're like Thomas,
There.
enormous amounts. I pay actually rather more than Thomas. I paid over £1 million.
Right, going back to the beginning of this. Right, I'm going to press play. You know what, I'll take this off and hold it over the laptop. My laptop really is very quiet. I had to buy a budget laptop.
Good morning, Chris.
Because my old laptop decided it was on its last legs, and because I'm studying at the moment, so I had to buy a cheap laptop in order for me to carry on studying. Because my computer is old as well, and that doesn't take Windows 11. So it was a whole bit of a thing. Anyway, that comes down to part of what I'm going to speak about today, of with British people having forgotten what sarcasm is, and life on benefits and what it's like. So I'm going to play this call that was from LBC. I'm probably going to stop it halfway through, but yeah, if you've got comments, comment in the comment section. Please try and keep it polite. Be kind to each other. Anybody who isn't kind will get booted, because I'm just not prepared to put up with that. So let me play this this caller, and yeah, if you've got any comments about this, pop them in the comments section.
Morning, Matthew. I like your program. Enjoy it. I thought Thomas made a lot of sense. Earlier on, I just take issue with the comment you made about more equitable tax system being required. An earlier caller saying, make the wealthy pay more. I'm one of those people who pay, rather like Thomas, enormous amounts of tax. I pay actually rather more than Thomas. I paid over £1 million last year. And I'm afraid
Thank
just
you.
saying...
Thank you for that.
Well, thank you. I'm very glad to help, but actually only to a certain extent. Because after a while, it becomes quite boring paying an enormous amount of tax and having endless people coming on saying we should pay more. Because the point is, you come up against a hard reality. People like me don't really want to pay any more than £1 million.
Okay, so this guy's saying that he is bored with paying tax. And that he doesn't want to pay more tax. He doesn't think that the wealthy should be taxed more, and he doesn't want to pay more tax. I actually think that's quite... I can't even think of the word. It's disgusting that he is saying he's bored of paying tax, and he paid £1 million in tax last year. If I had £1 million, it would keep me going for the rest of my life. So, you know, there's a level that we need to look at when it comes to tax payments and earning money. Yeah, the guy's a businessman. Fair enough. But, yeah, I just think he's bored with paying £1 million a year in tax. I'm going to play this again. Just so you can hear what he actually says, because it's ludicrous. It's absolutely ludicrous.
What does Chris have to say in Witney, Oxfordshire? Morning, Chris.
Yeah, morning, Matthew. I like your program. Enjoy it. I thought Thomas made a lot of sense. Earlier on, I just take issue with the comment you made about more equitable tax system being required. An earlier caller saying, make the wealthy pay more.
I agree.
I'm one of those people who pay, rather like Thomas, enormous amounts of tax. I pay actually rather more than Thomas. I paid over £1 million last year. And I'm afraid
Thank you for that.
Well, thank you. I'm very glad to help, but actually only to a certain extent. Because after a while, it becomes quite boring paying an enormous amount of tax and having endless people coming on saying we should pay more. Because the point is, you come up against a hard reality. People like me don't really want to pay any more than £1 million. We could pay more, but where does it end? You carry on paying forever. More and more people don't work.
Can I just... So, in my glory days on TV, I didn't quite pay £1 million in tax, but I earned a lot of money. And one of the things
that I found, and this is probably more relevant to our discussion on billionaires to come, is that after a certain point, the money just sort of rolled in. I wasn't spending it. I didn't need it. I had a nice house, nice car, everything. I could afford anything. Just have no problems in life. And when I start thinking about people that are earning like super money, I just think, well, what are they spending on? Why is it problematic to pay a significant sum in tax when you almost can't spend the residual that's left over because you have so much of it?
Now, I agree here with Matthew Wright because, when you're earning a certain amount of money, you've got so much money that you don't know what to do with it. Like, this guy, Chris, will go on and say that, well, he's thinking of moving abroad to his other house in another country. This is a guy that's got 2 houses. There's nothing wrong with having 2 houses. There's nothing wrong with having a lot of money. If you've worked hard for it, there's nothing wrong. However, you should be taxed proportionately for that money. And there are so many loopholes that the rich can get away with through their businesses, through inheritance tax and so on. Even though they've changed the inheritance tax laws recently, there's still so much that the wealthy can get away with when it comes to paying tax. Whereas the little person on the street pays tax and it takes away so much of their spending power. Now, the economy is faltering slightly. A lot of it has to do with global politics. But if people don't have money to spend, then the economy will falter. So the rich have money that they could spend, but they've already got everything they need. They don't have anything that, is dire that they need. For example, they will have a house. This guy's got another house. They'll probably have a yacht or a boat. They'll have a couple of cars, fancy furniture, fancy clothing, probably have a few holidays abroad a year, probably able to pay first class on a plane, so on and so on and so on. I'm not jealous of what rich people have because I like my life. My point in what I'm going to speak about in a moment was purely down to sarcasm and purely down to him saying that he is bored with paying tax. Everybody's bored with paying tax. Why should so many of us have to pay tax? And this guy's got to know his business. He wants to, recycle that money to expand his business. Nothing wrong with that. But yet again, this is a person who has enough money that they can spend £1 million a year on tax. Like I said, a person such as myself, if I had £1 million, that would last me the rest of my life. I wouldn't need any more money at all. Nothing. Because I don't want to drive a fancy car. I don't want to live in a fancy house. I don't want to, buy new furniture all the time or the latest fashions. I'm happy with what I have. What goes wrong for me is, for example, a couple of weeks ago, I was supposed to go to my mum's, that's on the other side of the country, and pulled the car out the garage and one of the tyres was flat. Now, already I'd been given notification on my MOT last year that my tyres were on their last legs. So I rang my mum and I said, look, I can't come. I've got a flat tyre. I'm going to have to get that sorted and so on. So I went to the local garage and got the tyre sorted. But my mum said, well, why don't you get 4 new tyres and I'll pay for it? My mum's 87 and she's paying for new tyres on my car. Let's go back to this caller, Chris, and see what else he has to say about the amount of wealth he has and the fact that he's bored of paying tax.
I'll explain. It's actually quite simple. What you're talking about is earning money. So once you're earning a lot of money, yes, you've got a nice house, you've got 2 cars, you've gone on lots of holidays, or whatever, you're earning even more. You don't actually need it. But for a businessman like me, who hasn't actually got a salary at all, and I don't even,
So you're talking about your money you paid in tax through corporations?
No, but it's a question. I'm a businessman, and I want to be able to grow my businesses, employ more people, start new businesses, do stuff. So I don't have money left over. In fact, I'm always trying to borrow money. No matter how much money you make, I'm reinvesting in businesses, hiring people, having new ideas, doing stuff. Yes, sure, if I was an employee on £1 million a year, you can't spend well, you can spend £1 million a year. You don't need £10 million. You don't need £20 million a year. But as a businessman, you do, because you're always trying to get bigger and better.
Point taken. Can I just, because the point's well made and I accept it. Can I ask you what your approach is to Rachel Reeves and the fiscal rules, which I would argue were invented to make, originally in the 90s, invented to make Labour look financially responsible.
Okay, I'm going to come back to Rachel Reeves and the fiscal rules in a moment, but I wanted to go back to what Chris said then, the caller on LBC. He said he doesn't take out a salary. I owned my own business and I didn't take out a salary either, but I wasn't making millions. I also wanted to expand my business. I also wanted to employ people, move to a bigger premises, be able to, I had my own yoga studio, but it was a very small studio. I also did lots of other things there. And lots of people turn around and say, oh, well, you should have worked harder. I was teaching 12 classes a week. I would run workshops on weekends. I also did Reiki treatments. I read tarot cards. I also had goods that I sold related to what I was doing. So things like crystals. I also sold yoga mats, yoga related clothing and so on. And I didn't take out a salary. I paid my tax. I paid my VAT. But here's a man who wants to, grow his business. Great. I agree with that. We need more jobs. We need more businesses. But he's bored of paying tax. And that statement is what riled me, is that somebody can be bored of paying tax. If he has got $1 million and he invests that $1 million, the interest that he will earn off of that $1 million is huge. So he would be able to use that interest to pay for what he wants to expand within his business.
But if you're in a time of international crisis or time of crisis, should Labour be prepared to surrender what appears to be a sort of luxury of politics?
Yeah, absolutely. But I'm not an economist, but essentially it's all about spending, borrowing, tax and growth. The whole thing works. And the economy works in a very similar way as a business, in exactly the same way as private individuals. Private individuals earn money and they spend money. And if you spend more than you earn, then it doesn't work. And if you go out and borrow, eventually the bank says you can't borrow anymore. And the problem...
If you spend more than you earn, well, most people spend more than they earn. Most people have loans that they have to pay back, whether it's a mortgage, whether it's taken out a second mortgage to improve their home, whether they are paying car finance or finance for something else. The vast majority of people in this country spend more than they earn. As I said, credit cards and credit situations. And this guy can go and spend, whatever he wants. So let's go back to what else he says.
The government has it exactly the same way round. So we're taxing as much as we can, because people like me are going to say, well, do you know what? No thanks. I'm going to go and live somewhere else, because it's easily done. It's really easy.
Go and live somewhere else.
I could just go there tomorrow, pay less tax, and then grow my businesses more. Or the government can borrow more money, but it can't borrow much more money because it's already pretty well at the top, the bond market.
So yeah, this is a dude. Chris has got enough money that he can go and live in another house abroad where he obviously owns a house. We can't do that. Especially those of us who are renting a property, who have such a little amount of income that they are living hand to mouth.
Then take fright, and then you pay interest on the loan, and that gets worse. And it's just like a family. Or you can reduce your spending, just like a family. And I'm afraid
you can reduce your spending just like a family. Okay. Go without food. Go without petrol for my car. You know, I don't have a lot of disposable income. I have to plan ahead. I have to make plans for the future. You know, when I car kit and pop my clogs, just, you know, chuck me on the fire, bonfire night. I'll be the guy on the fire. You know, I don't need a big funeral. I don't need all of that stuff. It doesn't bother me. But Chris has a way out of paying the tax that the government should be charging the rich. And this guy, if he can pay, if he's paying £1 million a year in tax, he's not poor.
The only way to get out of this sort of the doom loop at the moment is to reduce our spending.
See, on that score, Chris, we've been reducing our spending since 1980. And I don't understand how our services, which are already broken, Birmingham City Council, you know, can't clear up its litter. It's just, there are so many areas that are broken. I know quite a few disabled people. The idea that they are coining it in on benefits is just a total lie. So
And it is a lie. It is an absolute lie. I'm not going to go into any more of this call because I want to read out what the comments were and what my comment was. But it is being on benefits, you're not coining it. You get just enough to get by. That's it. You get just enough to get by. And if something happens, such as what happened to my car where I had a flat tire and I had to replace the tire, that's it. Something else has to, you know, be taken away. So I have to then eat the baked beans in my cupboard. I hate baked beans, but it's a meal, it's protein, you know, so I've always got a backup of food just in case I need it. But I don't buy expensive food. I buy the shop brands, you know. I don't go out for meals. I don't go to the cinema. I very rarely buy new clothes. I, you know, cautious with my heating, with my water usage, with all the things that I need to be cautious with. I budget. What makes me laugh is a lot of the rich people say, oh, you need to budget better. I studied accountancy in school. I did my own tax returns when I had my own business. You know, I'm quite capable of working out my budget. Day to day, I know how little I have in my bank account. And I spend my money accordingly. I haven't been on a holiday in close to 20 years. I can't afford to go abroad. I don't even have a passport anymore. You know, my holidays are basically I go to pagan camps, and so it's camping over a weekend where you pay about 30, 40 quid for your camp spot, and you know, that's it. That's what you do for the weekend. So I take my own food, so I don't have to buy food while I'm there. So I am taking, you know, fruit, salad stuff, sausages that I can cook, you know, breads, those sort of foods that are, you know, I can buy cheaply rather than going and spending a tenner on a burger, or, you know, having a fiver on a pint or whatever. To be honest, I hardly drink anymore because of my stomach issues. So this guy, Chris, was just, it just really riled me up that he's bored of paying tax. Makes me think of Robin Hood and the Sheriff of Nottingham. So anyway, I commented on this this live, this YouTube post, and I put here, Chris is bored with paying tax. I am bored of paying a landlord every month who doesn't fix the damp and won't change the 20-year-old boiler, for free I may add. And I'm bored of eating toast for most meals. He has no idea. Now, the vitriol that I received for that comment, that was a sarcastic comment. And that's why I say, has Britain forgotten what sarcasm is? I'm not moaning about my life, my lack of income, what I have or don't have. I'm happy with what I have. That's it. I live in fear of one thing could go wrong, and that's it. I would be screwed. For example, if I lose my tenancy here in the house that I live in, I have nowhere else to go. I don't have enough money to be able to afford to move. And I was working out these costs earlier in my head when I was on my run. And I found it quite interesting because I suddenly realised, you know what, Debs, you run every month, every day for charity. And I raise money for charities. I give back what I can. Okay, I love running, so there is that bonus. Last year, this time, I couldn't run. I could barely walk. I could barely get out of a chair. I had to use a stick everywhere I went. Now, I can run between 4 and 5 kilometres a day. And I'm hoping to increase that. I entered a competition to get a place in the London Marathon next year. Whether or not I'd finish, I don't know, but I'd love to say that I've done it. I've been there. You know, I've done this thing that is incredible at my age as well. To many people at my age, I'm 56 next month, would not run on a daily basis. I'm not saying that they should run. I'm not saying that they shouldn't run. You know, everybody has a choice. But I made that choice after I threw my back out last year, and I thought, right, that's it. I need to get fit again. I need to find my body again. It's been a journey. So coming back to my sarcastic comment and the comments that people responded with. Esther Bravo 4926 said, only you can change that, not the taxpayer, or payer, rather. Okay. Paul Sullivan, U4U, actually understood my point here, and he said, I'm the same. My rent is $400 a month. My landlord is moderate in respect to repairs, but he is not solely to blame as it's an old building. Regardless of the age of the building, the landlord has a duty to keep that house up to living standards. I believe that there are new laws that are coming into place where the energy level of the house has to be above a certain level. Otherwise, the house is deemed as uninhabitable. That means that many people who currently rent, they rent a cheap property because it's falling to pieces, won't have anywhere to live. Donna Watt 7124 said, move then. Donna, if I had enough money to move, I would. This is something that I've thought about so many times. Every day I look online for properties to let. The rent that I am paying here, I forgot to turn off my alarm for the cat's dinner.
Hello.
Right, so every day I check online for properties to let in my area. And what I'm seeing more and more is that a room in a share house will cost me the same amount of money as I'm paying here living on my own in my own house. Now, some people would say, well, living in a shared house is good and blah, 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 blah. The other thing that I see a lot online when I'm looking for a property to let is no pets allowed. I have 5 cats. And before anybody says to me, well, get rid of the cats, no, they are my family. That's it. My cats are one of the things that keeps me going. So yes, I do try to look for somewhere else to live, look for somewhere else to go on a daily basis. And yet, I'm still stuck. Not only would the, sorry guys, I'm just trying to find, for some reason, this thing's gone off. Bear with me. I am trying to look for somewhere else to live. First of all, as I say, the rent has to be taken into consideration. Then moving costs need to be taken into consideration. Previously, when I've moved, I've hired a van and driven it myself and moved that way. Unfortunately now, there's no way I could do that on my own. I would need to get a moving company. How much is that going to cost me? £1,000? I don't have £1,000 sitting around doing nothing. If I did have £1,000, I probably would be able to move. Then there is the fact that when you are looking at another property, before they will give you a chance to rent that property, you have to pay for a credit check. I don't know why you have to pay, because you can do it for free, but apparently you have to pay for it. Apparently it's the admin that the estate agents take, which is absolutely ridiculous. You're looking at anywhere between 60 and 100 quid per person. Another point of that is I wouldn't actually get passed because I took out a loan for my business and that loan still isn't paid back. So that's not going to happen. Then, of course, when you come to move, you have to pay the deposit, which is normally as much as the rent is per month, and you have to pay the first month's rent up front. So you are looking at about £2,500 to move. If I had £2,500, I would. But as I say, the amount of money that I can spend on rent would not cover a house that I would be able to live in. And some people will say, well, live in a flat. Unfortunately, with my mental health issues, it ain't gonna work. I have considered all of these things and I know myself well enough to know what I could and couldn't do. So I'm going to go back to reading out these comments here. Ryu5802 said, as usual, the idiots missed your point. And the idiots did miss my point. My point wasn't that you know, I'm poor and I'm hard done to. That wasn't my point. My point was that he's bored of paying £1 million in tax a year. You know, so many people do not have that kind of money laying around. So many people are living on the breadline. In other words, they are living month to month. They can't afford to put money aside to save. Hang on a second, sorry, I'm pressing wrong buttons here. Minky Winkle has said, that's a you problem, not a tax problem. And I want to remind everybody that I had my own business. I paid tax. Before I had my own business, I worked. I paid my tax. Why are you not looking to move elsewhere? Just explained, can't afford to move. Why are you not saving to buy your own? I have nothing that I can put aside every month because everything is more than what I get in. Why are you not picking up more hours to change your situation? Because I can't, because unfortunately, I am one of the people who is dependent on PIP, who has not only mental health issues, but physical health issues as well. I have COPD, which is chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, which is basically emphysema. I have a constant ankle injury. It'll never go away. But you know what? I run every day and I just run through that pain. I don't take painkillers. I try not to. I hate the blooming things. I have a complex hiatus hernia in my stomach, and that causes me stomach problems where I don't know when I'm going to need a bathroom, and it's needed urgently. Also have problems with my bladder, and I also have chronic kidney disease. You know, the list goes on. Why are you sitting idle and moaning about your situation instead of doing something about it? I am. I'm studying psychology. I have my YouTube channel, which if I get more followers, I will be able to monetize and hopefully start earning money from YouTube, because this is something I can do. So I'm studying psychology because I want to be able to work online with people or look at doing research in the sort of academic field. Amiraza 7706 says, buy a house. If I could afford to, I would. Another person, John Labono 2147 says, save up and buy your own property. Save what? Because, you know, I have a jar of coins that I sometimes have to count out to go and buy bread and milk. Bobby 9791 says, has your toast got avocado on it? If so, stop having this massive luxury and then you can buy a house. And obviously there was some sarcasm. So not every British person has lost their sarcasm. I actually replied to him saying, an avocado is a whole meal for me. And it is. Because of my stomach problems, I can't eat much more than sort of 30 grams of food at a time. Bear with me. Gibbo1 says tax benefits. Some people are on 70k plus doing FA. Well, I'd like to know who those people are. You know, 70k a year. Okay. Obviously, if somebody is on benefits, they're not getting 70k a year. I can tell you that now. They're definitely not. Like I said, I don't want to be on benefits. I really don't. But I have no choice. I have no choice over where I live. I am lucky because I have a roof over my head, because I don't have to take my tent and live somewhere in my tent. I am lucky because I have enough money and I budget well enough that I can afford to keep my cats, that I can pay their insurance every month, that I can cover their yearly costs for their injections, for their vaccines, that I can feed them every month. They're better fed than I am. that they have lots of cozy places to sleep in. I'm lucky that I have this equipment, that I can do this. And I'm also lucky that I can study. I'm lucky that I can try to get my PhD. Because once I've got my PhD, then I can start earning again and start putting back into the system so that those people who go through the same situation as me have the help that they need. I never thought I would be in this situation. I really didn't. Really, really didn't. I have worked hard my entire life. Even when I owned my own business, I worked hard. I had no employees. I did everything myself. My accounting, my marketing, my merchandising, my ordering stock, pricing stock, business planning, forward planning, class plans. Each class had a different class plan because each class had a different set of people that was in that class. So I taught yoga to people over 60 and above. I taught yoga to very fit people. So there were different classes and different levels of physicality that people had. I also did all my own data protection. I also had to pay insurance every month for my personal insurance. As a yoga teacher, you have to have that. I had to pay to the Yoga Alliance every year to keep my certification up to date. I had to pay every year for my DBS check, government check, criminal check, to make sure that I had not hurt somebody or was not a person who would hurt somebody. I had to take my first aid courses. I had to constantly keep going with my own yoga practice to ensure that I could get my insurance renewed every year, because obviously things change and you grow and you have to have that knowledge. I didn't have an accountant. I did my own accounting. Not only did I teach yoga, as I said, I taught 12 classes a week. I also had taught Reiki. I gave Reiki treatments. I did tarot and crystal readings, plus the few items that I sold in my little shop as well. I was working. Goodness, I can't even think how long I was working, because my first class started at 10 in the morning. So I would get there at about 8 to clean up and to prepare for the day. And I would finish at about 10 p.m. because my last class would finish at 9:30. And in between the classes is when I would slot in other clients for readings or Reiki treatments. Then there were weekends when I was working teaching workshops. And that was, writing the manuals, printing out the manuals, getting food for the people who come to the workshops, having the necessary equipment, the yoga mats, the blocks, the cushions, and all the things that go with that kind of a business. I didn't get a salary either. I was, the money that I was making went straight back into the business. Just as Chris's, the man that I was playing his call from LBC, did. His money goes back into the business, but he has a house abroad. So he has a couple of cars. So he's not that broke. He's not clinging on by the tips of his nails or by the skin of his teeth. He has enough that he can have these things, and he doesn't think that he should pay more tax. And a lot of people in my position will be like, well, you should pay more tax. Why are you not paying more tax? Why shouldn't that wealth be spread out a little bit better? The economy is so bad right now that I know that I could not afford to live on anything less than the measly amounts I get. As I said, I don't want to stay in this position. I want to be able to move and to, you know, be productive in society again. As I said, I do what I can every month. I raise money for charity. I give back in that way. This month I'm raising money for World Wildlife Fund. It's 100 miles in March. Now I've had to shorten it down to 100 kilometers because there just aren't enough days in the month for me to do 100 miles, but I'm on 69 kilometers at the moment. So that's the little sort of ticker that shows how far I've run. So I'm running on average 5 kilometers a day. I'll obviously end up being over 100 kilometers, but I will carry on with this charity and carry on getting the money into that charity. Last month I raised money for Refuge. I'm also hoping to, which I have to enter, run at least a 5K for cancer. I mean, I've got cancer research on at the moment, but for breast cancer. And hopefully I can run both a 5K and a 10K. That would be great if I can do both. And then, as I said, I'm trying to get a free, I entered a competition to get a free spot into next year's London Marathon. And if I do, I want to raise money for cats protection. That is my aim. So I give back in the ways that I can. I help people as much as I can. I don't see myself as being a scrounger or lazy or sitting on my backside all day, because I do so many different things. Recording videos takes time. You have to write your script, you have to sit down and, you know, record it, then you have to edit it. I'm getting much better at editing. Unfortunately, I'm recording on my phone and I'm editing on my phone. I don't have the necessary software or an external camera or an external microphone. I've only got this one, which, as I said, I had to buy another doohickey converter, a USB-C cable, because my phone doesn't take the normal jack plugs anymore. I had to buy a new phone because my old phone broke. You can't be without a phone. If you are on benefits, you need your phone to be able to go into your account and check your benefits, and you do this communication with the job centre. You have a person who, you know, manages you. Even with PIP, last year when I had to reapply for PIP, it was denied. And I had to go through the whole reapplication process. I can't think of the word now, it's just gone out of my head. I didn't want to, but I've been on disability benefits for 10 years. Again, not because I want to be on them, but those disability benefits enable me to go and see a therapist so that I don't unalive myself, so that I'm able to fix myself and sort out my life and get back to being a productive member of society. And so I had to go through the appeal process. That's it. I had to go through the appeals process to get that. And it was months. It took a few months. And I was lucky that the woman phoned me and she said, I'm looking through this paperwork. She said, and I mean, I have a file this big of paperwork from every single doctor's appointment, psychiatrist, psychologist, you name it, it's all there. So, you know, sending off copies, getting letters from doctors, and you have to pay for those. The doctor just doesn't give you a letter anymore. They charge you to type up that letter, and then they don't just give you letters. You have to then get an appointment to see the doctor beforehand, especially with my psychiatrist. You can't get appointments with psychiatrists. It's not face-to-face anymore. It's either over the phone, or my last one was a video call, which was great because it meant that I didn't have to use petrol to get to where I needed to be for that appointment, and then pay for parking and all the rest of it. And these costs all add up. There are days when I can't get out of bed, when my depression is really bad. It's nowhere near what it used to be. I hardly drink anymore. I don't go out, can't afford to. I pretty much, spend my time studying, which I don't mind because I enjoy it. And then when I'm not studying, I'm running. Which, as I say, I couldn't do last year. Last year I could barely walk. I could barely get out of a chair without using my stick. So people who are on benefits, I will say 99% of them don't want to be on benefits. They want to be able to do something with their lives and be productive and give back to society. So people such as myself, I do what I can to give back to society, whether that is raising, fundraising money for charities, or whether it is giving advice to people online and hopefully helping them with their lives and what they're going through. It's not easy. And there's that constant fear in my mind, will I get a letter today telling me that I have to leave this property? And what the F will I do if that happens? Because I've had it in my head for a long time. I had 2 tents because when I used to teach yoga, I also used to go to a lot of body, mind and spirit fairs and a lot of festivals where I had my big tent where I would set up my stall and my smaller tent that I would sleep in. And my smaller tent unfortunately sprung a leak. So yeah. But my plan has always been that if I get kicked out, that I will take my tent and I will find somewhere that I can have my tent with my cats. I'm not getting rid of my cats. No way. They will always be looked after. That is the rule. That is the rule. I'm not letting my babies go into, RSPCA or a shelter because they love me. They've only ever known me. They don't know anybody else, and it wouldn't be fair on them. 2 of my girls are 11, 12 years old now. 2 of the other girls are just a year younger. They're the daughters of the other 2. And then Thorn, my big boy, he was a stray who moved in a couple of years ago, and he's changed from this stray cat to a cat that gets on my bed in the morning because he wants fusses and loves. He was a cat who was living outside in my shed, and eventually I got him to move in. So it's not easy living on benefits. It's not what people think it is. It really, really isn't. Like I say, you can't plan a holiday because who would look after my cats? And if I do have a cat sitter who comes when I do go camping, luckily we have a pretty good arrangement. But if I had to go away for 2 weeks on a holiday, well, I couldn't afford it anyway. But let's say I had money that I could go on a holiday. The cost of a cat sitter coming in twice a day would be phenomenal. So it's just not possible. So everybody out there who thinks that being on benefits is joyful and fun and you do nothing all day and, that you're lazy. 99% of people on benefits are trying to get out of that situation, are trying to heal themselves. And people with mental health disabilities have a massive disadvantage. The last PIP forms that I completed were have no space on them to put down mental problems. None. So I had to write, I wrote quite a few pages to go on there. So, they score you on certain things. So, for example, with my bladder problems, I need to be close to a bathroom at all times. With my stomach problems, I need to be close to a bathroom at all times. You know, if I eat food and it gets stuck in my hernia, I can't do anything for 24 hours. I'm in pain. That's it. I can't even drink water. I have to try and find some comfortable position in which to lie or stand or sit or walk around or move. The pain, I've actually had the ambulance out a couple of times to take me into hospital because of a suspected heart attack. And I'm like, no, I know it's my hernia, but the hernia is here and your heart's here. So they're so close, they have to be careful. It's like, how am I going to get home from the hospital if the ambulance is taking me in? Luckily, I had a wonderful friend of mine who came to give me a lift home at 1 o'clock in the morning, because I didn't have cash for a taxi. So yeah, then not only that, there are all the hospital appointments that you have to go through as well. Hospital doctor appointments, you know, you name it. I've just been for the one appointment for my stomach, so I've got to go for another barium swallow, and then I've got to go back to see the surgeon again, and hopefully they can make a plan for when I can have the surgery. With my psychologist, obviously, my therapist, that's a weekly appointment. With other issues that I have for various problems, those are other appointments that I have to stick to and keep. And you know how hard it is to get an appointment at a hospital. You have to wait for months. So when you get that appointment, you don't want to change it, you don't want to miss it, you have to go. I've got to ring the hospital tomorrow because I've got to reschedule an appointment because unfortunately it clashes with another appointment. You spend your life going to hospitals, and when you go to see the hospital, the parking is about £4, £5 and upwards because you still have to pay for parking. And then there's no parking. You know, so the last time I went, I try and get there early so I can drive around a few times to find a parking spot. And then you go and sit and wait, and you could be waiting for an hour, 2 hours to see the person you're going to see. Sometimes it's really good that you get to see them when you're supposed to, but sometimes not so good. When I found a lump in my breast 2 years ago, they actually do this whole expedited system where the doctor sends you to the hospital straight away. You see the actual doctor, the boob doctor, who has a look and a feel, and then says, right, we're sending you for a mammogram, and then you go for an ultrasound, and there's a queue of women going in for this, which is brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant the way that they have set that system up, because of course breast cancer is something that all women are aware of. It's like I had to, when I had my last my last gynecological check, I had to go for an ultrasound as well because of the fact that I'm on HRT. And that's another thing, you know, the amount of drugs that you have to take for all of these different conditions. It never ends. As I sit in the morning, it takes me 2 hours to take all my meds because there are that many of them. And if they get stuck in my hernia, that's it, can't take them. Anyway, I have waffled on enough now, and I've been here for nearly an hour. So thank you to those who have watched. If you have watched, please give me a like. It just helps with the algorithms and obviously to try and grow my channel so I can do more lives. Sorry, I have had a bit of a moan today, but there were other topics that I wanted to speak about too. But I think that people don't know or understand how difficult it is having to rely on benefits and how guilty you feel inside, even though you worked all your life and you paid in your taxes, and that national insurance and PIP is there for people who need it when they can't work. And yet, still, you feel guilty. Anyway, I'm going to go because I need to go and have avocado on toast. It's cheaper if you buy them in packs of 3, and like I say, it's a whole meal. But anyway, I'm going to go because I need to eat. My stomach's growling. If I don't eat, I will fall poorly. So thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. I've got some really interesting videos coming up this week. There's the one that I have been, wrote a script, did a lot of research on it about Kiena Dawes, which will hopefully be uploaded tomorrow evening. So watch out for that. Also, I've got a lot of Women Be Very Afraid and Am I the A-Hole videos coming up. So watch out for those. I am away next weekend. It is Ostara. It is the second spring festival in the pagan belief system. So I'm going to be camping in my tent in a forest with other friends who I love. And surprisingly, I am actually taking a box of stuff that I'm just getting rid of and asking for donations. So this is how we live when we are on benefits. We don't live beyond our means. We don't, you know, I bought a fridge the other year after my ex left. I sold jewellery so that I could buy the fridge. I needed to buy it because he kicked the door on the freezer and the door was buckled and the freezer just froze up completely. So it was pointless, it was useless and costing me a fortune to run. So that's what you do. When you are on benefits, if you need something like that, you sell stuff. You don't have disposable income. So if you've got a story about, you know, how you've overcome your monetary issues, how you've overcome with benefits, pop it into the comments section. When I switch this video off, it's going to go to private, but then I'll change it back to public again. And you can put comments on there because the comments from the live feed will not show up. But have a wonderful Sunday evening and blessed be. Mwah.